In early 2008, Lost was the hottest thing on TV. 3 seasons had aired and message boards were ablaze with theories about the numbers, the smoke monster, and the Dharma initiative. And fans, myself included, were hungry for any new information, even if it meant playing Lost via Domus. This video game spin-off was developed by Ubisoft Montreal and released on February 26, 2008, just as Season 4 of the show was hitting its stride on TV. For context, this was 2 days before The Constant aired one of the series' best episodes. Lost via Domus, however, is not a good video game. It wasn't then, and it isn't now. But having just finished a rewatch of Lost, I couldn't resist revisiting the PC version, and I'll be honest, I quite enjoyed it. There's a lot to hate about Lost via Domus. The same boring fuse box puzzle is repeated far too often. The sections where you have to avoid the smoke monster are infuriating. Smokey looks and sounds the part and is sufficiently menacing, but there's seemingly no pattern to its movements, making avoiding it a maddening case of trial and error. And the part where you have to avoid it while carrying volatile dynamite, which explodes if you move it more than a snail's pace, is so stunningly bad I can't believe anyone at Ubisoft played it and decided it was fit to ship. These chase sections are bad as well, especially the ones that make you sit through 2 long, unskippable cutscenes every time you make a mistake. The flashbacks, where you have to take photos of stuff to trigger memories, are a tiresome chore. You'll swear you're taking a photo of the right thing, but the game flatly refuses to acknowledge it. And main character Elliot Maslow, a survivor of Oceanic Flight 815, who seems to be having less fun than everyone else on the island, is entirely forgettable. I could go on, but like the show it's based on, for every flaw via Domus has, there's something to love about it. When you're not being chased through the jungle by the smoke monster or being shot at by the others, Via Domus has the laid-back feel of an adventure game. You get to explore faithfully recreated locations from the series like the beach camp and the Black Rock, and a number of Dharma stations including the Pearl, the Flame, and, of course, the Swan. This was always my favourite Lost location, and it's been recreated brilliantly here, based on blueprints supplied by the show's production department. You even have to enter the numbers and push the button. And if you don't, well... The timer ticks down in real time, so theoretically you could never leave this chapter of the game and dutifully enter the numbers every 108 minutes. I mean, if you had nothing better to do. Sadly, there's no way to play Make Your Own Kind of Music on the record player. You can also talk to your fellow survivors, asking them questions about the island, or, in true adventure game fashion, showing them random objects from your pockets.
No thanks. I'm a wine drinker.
And while some of the cast from the show do make an appearance, including Ben,
we think you might be the one.
Desmond,
Snow Hatch is a bloody crypt. Take my advice. Turn round, go back, brother.
and Sun,
I was traveling to America on a business trip with my husband.
other characters voiced by sound-alikes who are trying their best are less convincing.
There's an impressive music collection down there, but no drive shaft. No wonder that guy went mental.
I'm out here for my own reasons. I'm sure you are too.
I was leaving Australia at the request of the government. Translation, MYOB.
We were able to acquire explosives in the jungle. You do not need to know the details.
You can trade with them too, which is a feature I actually really like. As you explore, you pick up water bottles, coconuts, Apollo bars, and other desirable items which can be swapped for useful stuff like pistol ammo and lantern oil. And yes, if you talk to Charlie enough times, he will sing You All Everybody.
You all everybody! You all everybody! You all everybody!
The attention to detail is impressive, especially if you're a Lost fan. On the beach you see Sawyer reading, Kate gazing wistfully at the toy aeroplane we learned about in her flashbacks, Charlie playing guitar badly, and Hurley taking inventory of all the supplies that came out of the Swan station. In flashbacks, you catch glimpses of familiar characters, including Mr. Echo. Stand near the corridor in the Swan that was filled in with concrete after the incident, and you can hear the telltale hum of the island's magical electromagnetic energy. Enter 77 and the flame computer in the station blows up. You even find one of those Dharma Initiative VW vans in the jungle, complete with a case of Dharma beer in the back. It's obvious the developers were fans of the show. If you can track down a PC copy of Lost via Domus, it runs perfectly on Windows 10, which is rather unusual for a 12-year-old game. But should you? Well, as we've established, it's a bad game full of frustrating design choices and lame set pieces. But if you are or ever were a Lost fan, and you've built up a certain amount of nostalgia for the show over the years, it's an enjoyable trip down memory lane. It's also something of a time capsule representing Lost when it was still genuinely mysterious, before the Man in Black and Jacob were introduced, and the Dharma Initiative still had some secrets left. And as a former Lost nerd, I got a real buzz out of exploring locations like the Swan and the Black Rock, and hanging out with the cast, even with the weird voice acting.
You are everybody! You are everybody! You are